True North Song.
Hi, I'm Devin Cuddy. This here building was built in 1881. A gentleman by the name of Angus Cameron had a dry goods shop, a tailor shop, and around the turn of the century became the John Burns Hotel. And the front room of the John Burns Hotel was the Cameron House. Come on in.
Devin Cuddy.
Cosmo, my friend, good to be back. Been a while, buddy.
Has been a while. It's been a little quiet around here without you.
This place has been without music for some time, I guess, eh? Yeah.
Before that, it was my parents and your parents too, kind of on the scene up and down Queen West and in this very building.
Straight through, eh? Like there must have been music here every night for years. What would your mom and uncle have had to deal with in the early days?
I've met many good friends, you included, of course, through this place.
I remember when you started, the Strumbellas were here, and I guess Justin Rutledge had already passed through. Yeah. And it was funny because I guess when we met, my dad and your mom had hung out in the 80s, you know, totally. At this bar. It's pretty cool, eh?
We've lived our own reality, but all the stories you hear from that generation and from, well, not so much from my parents, but about my parents, perhaps. Can't help but mention Handsome Ned. I think he was a big influence on you and for sure me when I was growing up. His music was always around the house. Like, I remember getting upset once as a kid when I saw them talking about the King, Elvis, on a news program, and I was like, why isn't Handsome Ned the King? Because for me, that was like the go-to music that I was used to listening to all the time, is this kind of local scene.
Everybody who passed through here back then seemed to revolve around him to some way, and it's kind of cool to be a part of the next wave of that, I guess, eh? Yeah, I remember you asking me to do it, and I did about 3 months of that. It was fun. I learned a lot. I think that's one of the parts about this place is, you know, a lot of people cut their teeth here, and it's a great stepping stone in the Canadian music industry. But what was the Molly Johnson story? She was living upstairs, right?
She lived upstairs, and there was a long-running series, the Acid Jazz Wednesdays, and they had DJs, and she said the bass was so strong that the bathtub above the stage was like a jacuzzi. So she'd always plan her baths for the Acid Jazz Wednesdays. Famously, my uncle always said that it was just, all I did was give these people a venue. Like, I just gave them a room, I just gave them space to do their thing, and what they did and what they needed was just a space to do it in. And now the next generation takes over. I bartended all of your Wednesdays when you did the weekly Wednesdays for months and months and months, and I bartended. I remember Andy Mays was there, obviously my dad was there. I think, did Ron Sexsmith play? I think he did, yeah. And Gordon Pinsett and Greg Keeler, yeah, they played their record, yeah. And then Molly did her night, right? She did the Monday, yeah. Right? Yeah, I think that was for me the first time I realized that there was something more than just, you know, a venue here, and there's this community that now spans multiple generations. And that time Prince came in and he sat down and played the piano. That time Kurt Cobain was brought here by Stephen Leckie, and you hear all those stories and it's cool, and you try to figure out which ones are actually true and which ones are bullshit. I'll always remember Friendly Rich going nuts with his, whatever you want to call his music on the stage. It was fantastic. That was my weird memory. I'm not sure everybody, I think it was 1 in 3 people stayed. And 2 of 3 would walk in and hear his squealing the clarinet and leave. And it wasn't until I started learning the guitar that my uncles, oh, you're playing the guitar? Well, you got to come Tuesday nights and see this guy, Champagne James Robertson, Run with the Kittens. So I would come and I would bar back and he'd make me do dishes and I would watch Run with the Kittens or Kevin Quain. Those were the 2 bands that I would bar back for him. And I think he's hiding around here somewhere, my Uncle Paul. Passed on, but I can still hear him yelling at me of not doing the dishes properly. So Herb and his friend, my Uncle Paul, and my mom, Anne Marie, the 3 of them in 1981 decided to buy this place, which at the time was called the Cameron, but they didn't have music. It was a real divey, rubby place. But yeah, and those early days, they kind of had still the old rubbies, and a couple of them became beloved regulars, George. And then the new people, the new artists and the new people that they brought in, and this kind of merging of the 2 groups. Well, I was just going to say is that you did that same thing when you took over, is you brought in a bunch of new
acts and people to hang out, but you also still had, you know, Kevin Quain, Corin Raymond, Run with the Kittens.
I was granted a stage, you know, well before anyone should have been giving me stage time, but as a result, you kind of really learn that performance first, which is seemingly a bit of a, maybe a dying part of the industry of it's almost like the live show last after all of the recording and writing and then radio push and all of that. It's kind of like, oh yeah, and by the way, like, you know, learn how to play a live show, yeah, right. Which seems so backwards and odd to us that play 3-set nights. And do you remember the first time you played here?
Yeah, I do. I was doing Wednesday nights solo piano. I don't know what the hell I was thinking playing solo piano for 3 hours on a Wednesday night. But so when I started, the piano was on the floor, and I would play amongst all the people. And, you know, a hand would come over, and a drink would come down, and you'd be getting rocked by the people behind you. And I'll tell you, when you put it up on the stage, not that I don't like being out with the crowd, but I was very thankful for the move there. And now I get to tuck away in a safe zone.
Speaking of the piano, there's a new one here. It's 100 years old, but it's new for us. It'd be great if you could play us a song on it.
All right, buddy. Let's do it.
Here's a song I've played here many times. It's called Afghanistan. 18 and I didn't know just what to do and where to go. I didn't play no sports, I wasn't in no band. I didn't want to eat from some boss's hand, but I always liked what the general said, and I ain't afraid to end up dead. Daddy always said to be a man, so I'm shipping off to Afghanistan. Alright. Says that I must be crazy, or 'cause up to now I've just been lazy, sitting around with no purpose at all, just waiting for the big old axe to fall. But I always lied what the general said, and I ain't afraid to end up dead. Daddy always said to be a man, so I'm shipping off to Afghanistan. Just the other day, said you're looking for adventure, come this way. Gave me a pen, he said sign right here. I said, what I gonna do about mama's tears? But I always lied what the general said, and I ain't afraid to end up dead. Daddy always said to be a man, so I'm shipping off to Afghanistan. Come on, friends. Desert heat, and we were sitting there bumping something for raw road beats, when all of a sudden the thunder hit the fan. I let a man say, take cover if you can, but I always lied what the general said, and I ain't afraid to end up dead. Daddy always said to be a man, so I'm shipping off to Afghanistan. But I always lied what the general said, and I ain't afraid. Daddy always said to be a man, so I'm shipping off to Afghanistan. You and I met many years ago in this very building. I think I saw you playing in the back room with the Shotgun Wedding Band. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's probably right. Most of my memories that have taken place in this building tend to be a little blurry, I have to admit. But I'll take your word for it, Devin. And yeah, I love this building. I've lived in this building. I'm one of the lucky few who can claim, I don't know, maybe sometimes when you're living here you don't feel all that lucky, but I did. And I've worked here, and I've played here, and yeah, it was really hard to be away from this place over the last year. It's so nice to be back in this room. But yeah, I wrote this song when I was feeling really bummed back in January when things were looking pretty grim. It's called Overcast. It's all about when the sun don't shine. Well, it's been overcast for days. My gray skies missing in the hay, and I've been under your skin. And you've been hovering over my skin. All the darkness and pain, sadness and rain, living in Groundhog City over again. Well, I'm over it. Yeah, I'm over it. Yeah, I'm over it. only did I do all those things I mentioned here at the Cameron House, I also did a whole lot of flirting with a guy here at the Cameron House. And he happens to be sitting here next to me. You want to tell him about it, Freeze?
Oh, you got it, honey. We didn't meet here, but we definitely did a lot of our courting and our flirting and, eyeing each other. And
it was mostly him eyeing me, just for the record.
But it's turned into a very, very fruitful and meaningful relationship, and even produced this song. It's called The Way You Love. Baby, one more kiss. Your sweet lips, you know, I just can't resist. I love you, baby, more than you know. I'm gonna give you everything that I own. There's something about you. It's in the way you love. It's in the way that you love. Play that piano, Devin. Come on. One more kiss. Your sweet lips, you know, I can't resist. I love you, baby, more than you know. I'm gonna give you everything that I own. There's something about you. It's in the way. There's something about you, honey. It's in the way. There's something about you. It's in the way you love. Well, I've had some great nights here. I remember the first time I got to play here, it's all thanks to a lucky person. Or I'm a lucky person that I know him, but it was all thanks to Tom Ionescu. I met him at the C&E. He was working sound for the stage I was playing at, and he was like, "Oh, you guys are great. You guys, I think there's a band that didn't show up tonight at the Cameron. My friend Cosmo told me, you guys want to play there? I think you guys would be great." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I've never played there. I'd love to." Yeah. Got us in. There was like 10 of us on stage. It was so much fun, and then we've just been doing that ever since. I've only been playing here maybe like, 6-7 years now. There's people who've been playing here way longer than I have, way longer before I was even born. And this someone who's made this place what it is. I'm going to throw it over to Mr. John Borra.
Well, I was a wee lad when I first played here, tender age of 17, 1983, and pretty much doing stuff here ever since. And this front room is now, of course, the great home to a lot of the great live music that goes on here every week. But back in the old days, it was just more of a hangout room. There were no bands up here, and there was a great cross-pollination of people, from the old guys that would drink here during the daytime, through the crossover of the sort of the hipper downtown Queen Street crowd into the evening, and it was just a place where you could meet all sorts of different people, and especially the artists. different artists of different disciplines would all be sitting together, drinking together, hanging out, exchanging ideas, and good or bad. And so, in the spirit of that, I would like to do the song that I wrote with my friend Miss Eva H.D. She's a poet, and we met each other through a mutual friend who's also a staple at this joint. He's been doing a Thursday night gig for ages. His name's Corin Raymond, and this song is called "The Wars." I was a jam jar, I was a melting pot, I worship building blocks, summer storm, I was a leafy branch, I was recalcitrant, I was a brigand flame, and ripe for worm. Did you have harbored me? Had I been less at sea? Did you have leavened me between the bars? Our love was brave as sin and toppled government, fierce as a garment rent. Amid the war, you were a miner, you were a Union song, tempered tenor tide, an inland sea. I might have rescued you after you'd fallen through the thin ice of 32 on broken knees. Could you have harbored me? Had I been less at sea? Could I have leavened you between the bars? Our love was brave as sin and toppled government, fierce as a garment rent. Amid the war, could you have harbored me? Had I been less at sea? Could I have leavened you between the bars? Our love was brave as sin and toppled government, fierce as a garment rent. In the war, slack as a garment rent. Amid the war,
Beautiful song, John.
thank you, Raha. Well, I'd say there's one person in this room that's been playing here longer than me and coming here longer than me, and that's Mr. Sam Ferrara right here.
Hey, Sam.
Sam also has done a annual Christmas art show here that's run for, what was last?
I think I'm the longest artist that's ever showed here.
There you go.
Nice.
Well, speaking of artists from the old days, what do you think? Should we do a song by
Our good friend?
good friend Mr. Handsome Ned?
Yes, please. Yeah.
He was a very important part of this place at the very beginning. He sadly died young, but His songs still blasted out of that jukebox for many years in this front room, and this was one of them. From his first single with the Handsome Neds. It's called There Ain't No Room for Cheating, and a song about love. There ain't no room for cheating in a song about love. Well, I wish someone had told me before. Push comes to shove, well, I know you're out and happy, when all I feel is blue. I'm just sitting in this bar, just drinking a beer. You can find me down this lonely street, sitting on this bar stool. When I hear that jukebox play, my thoughts turn to you. Well, it used to be a happy song, but all I hear is blue. There ain't no room for cheating in a song about being true. There ain't no room for cheating in a song about love. I wish someone had told me before. Push comes to shove, well, I know you're out and happy, when all I feel is blue. I'm just sitting in this bar, just drinking of you. All right, Devin, how are you? Belongings, and I spent the money on you. Well, the greenback started running out, and you said we was through. You said we're singing a different song, but I hear the same old tune. There ain't no room for cheating in a song about being true. There ain't no room for cheating in a song about love. I wish someone had told me before. Push comes to shove, hell, I know you're out and happy, when all I feel is blue. I'm just sitting in this bar, just drinking a beer. Right. I wish someone had told me before. Push comes to shove, hell, I know you're out and happy, when all I feel is blue. I'm just sitting in this bar, just drinking a beer. Yeah, I'm just sitting in this bar,